Hello everyone. So as promised, I'm going to be doing another video to complete the paper 3 that I started last week. So question number 2A states that in a football tournament, points are awarded as follows: 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and 0 points for a loss. Write a 3 by 1 matrix, name it P or P, to represent the information. Now you have to remember what a 3 by 1 matrix will be. The first number always represents the number of rows, the second number always represents the number of columns. So a 3 by 1 matrix generally would have 3 rows. Let's just say X, X, X. This is what a 3 by 1 matrix will look like. It has 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 1 column. Everything coming down in one. Based on the information that they give us, you want to write it in that order, right? So we're going to write the win first, followed by the draw, followed by the loss. So the final answer would look like, let me put it here, the win was 3 points because you want to write the numbers. The draw, sorry, was 1 point, and the loss was 0 points. So this is the 3 by 1 matrix here, and you'll get 1 mark for that. I believe that was clear. Hopefully it was to you all. Okay, so moving on to the next part of this paper. It says during the tournament, Team Alpha recorded 5 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses, while Team Beta recorded 3 wins, 4 draws, and 2 losses. Write a 2 by 3 matrix R to represent this information. I forgot to put P. So let me put that one time, right? They call it matrix P, right? Okay, so they're telling us that for matrix R, we have to write a 2 by 3 matrix. The 2 represents rows, the 3 represents columns. So that means the matrix will look something like this. Rows, there'll be 2 rows for sure, and 3 columns. So it will look something like this. We can't remember how to check them out. Rows are like this: 1 row, 2 rows. Columns: 1 column, 2 column, 3 columns. So it will look like this. So the answer for matrix R is going to be equal to you write it in the order that they give you. They have win, draw, loss. That's a rule. Followed by win, draw, loss. So the way you write in the digits would be win, draw, column. Sorry, that's supposed to be a D, and loss. Well, supposed to be, I want it to be a capital B. So the first one for in terms of Team Alpha, write down everything for Team Alpha in the same row. Right? 5, 1, 3. 5 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses. Team Beta, yeah, alright, everything across below here. 3 wins, 4 draws, 2 losses. So R is equal to this, right? So this is the answer for part 2. And you will have gotten 2 marks here once you wrote that. Now the next part requires that we calculate the matrix product RP. RP means matrix R multiplied by P, and it said product. And even if they didn't say product, anytime you have two letters next to each other in matrix, always means that those two letters will be multiplied. So since those two letters represent two separate matrices, we will multiply them, which means you put matrix R first, which is 5, 1, 3, 3, 4, 2, followed by matrix P, which has the elements 3, 1, 0. Oh, 3, 1, 0. Should be a bigger bracket. Now, as I will always say, it's important to write the order of the matrix. It helps you to know whether or not the two matrices can be multiplied, and it also would give you an idea of what your answer matrix will look like. So this matrix here is a 2 by 3, as we know. I will see it before because it has 2 rows and 3 columns. This one is a 1, 2, 3 rows of 3 by 1. Once the numbers in the middle, which is this number are the same, yes, you can multiply the two matrices. And your answer matrix, the answer would have 2 rows. Remember, it's always written as row and column, right? And row by column. So the answer will have 2 rows and 1 column. So your answer matrix will look something like 2 rows, okay, XX, which means 2 rows. This X is in a row, this X is in a row, and both of them in the same column. All right, so let's proceed to multiply this. I may need more space, so we see how this works out. Okay. So you start with the first row by the only column, and you will start by saying the first number by the first number. So 5 by 3. Now some people will write 15 one time. If you're clear on what you're doing, go ahead. Add 1 by 3. Sorry, 1 by 1. Add 3 by 0. And you close the brackets. Change the color here. So then the second row by the only column. Again, first number by the first number 3, multiply by 3. Add 4 multiply by 1. Add 2 by 0. So let me double check, make sure I have the correct figures. Okay, next we simplify, do all the multiplication. 5 3s are 15. Add 1 by 1 is 1. Add 3 by 0 is 0. Sorry, yes is 0. Oh, why write 3? Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So yeah, 3 by 0 is 0. And 3 by 3 is 9. Add 4 by 1 is 4. Add 2 by 0 is 0. Let's double check. 15. Alright. So the final answer would look like 15 add 1 is 16. 16 add 0 not going to change. 9 add 4 is 13. Add 0 not going to change anything. So the answer is 16, 13 for 2 marks. Okay. So the last part now, it says what does the matrix product RP represent? What does it represent? Okay. So they talk about information. So going back up We know that matrix P, which was one of the matrices we multiplied, was showing us some points for a win. 3 points for every game that a team win, 1 point for when they draw, and 0 points for when they lost. Then they introduced us the teams alpha and the team beta, and they gave us their wins, draws, loss. Now, when you multiply matrix R, which had the numbers in the top row had team alpha's information, the numbers in the bottom row had team beta information. So when you multiply matrix R here by matrix P, which is the points, it will give you the points for each team. So the 16 will represent for team alpha. Okay, I don't have space to write that. And below would represent for team beta. You'll just give beta. Just give me team beta. Just give me a minute or so. I'm gonna just plug in my charger. Okay. So what does the matrix product represent? Well, you can say RP represents um the total amount of points. Oh gosh, all right, my amount of points um for each team. Now this is a 1 mark question, so you don't have to give money to you, but if you're not sure and you want to make sure and over secure yourself, you can probably say that team alpha got 16 points, and you can also say that team beta got um how much was it? Right, yeah, so how much was it? Got 13 points, okay? Right. So, and you get 1 mark. As I said, you can stop your answer right here. If some people will be like, oh gosh, let me just make sure I give them 1 mark and then we give them half a mark answer and you want to over secure yourself, you can do that extra part. Okay, so the second part of this paper 3 has the values recorded in the table below represent the velocity of an object over a period of time. Velocity means the speed. And for those of you who know the general speed formula, speed is equal to distance divided by time, right? So that means anytime you see velocity, it means that distance divided by time has already been worked out. All right, so we have this information, we have that information. So on the grid below, I actually have the grid here. I'll have to, I know I'll do. Just I'll do. On the grid below, 2 points are plotted. Plotted means drawn on the graph, right? You see in this point here, see that point there. Plot the remaining 2 points on the grid and draw a line of best fit through the points. I'm gonna um close well, reduce the size of this page, and I have my backup. So the reason why I'm doing this, because I want to be able to, for you all actually and myself as well, to be able to see the question on one side while I do the graph on the other side. I think that'll be the most effective way to show this, right? Um, so when you say plot points on a graph, you'll need to always remember that every point on a graph has two coordinates, an x coordinate and a y coordinate. The x is always written first, the y is written second. Based on this information and my knowledge of velocity time graphs, some of you all would have been taught velocity time graphs with me, others haven't. It depends on when you came in. I have recordings on those, so if you want to request it, just send me a message. So velocity time graph, the velocity is always on the y-axis, and time is always on the x-axis, right? Um, so that's important to remember. So going down to the graph, they already have the scale and the axes are labeled. This is the x-axis here, this is the y-axis here. The points that they plotted were this one, the first one. We go up, so I can circle it. They plotted this point, and I think they plotted this one too. Let me just double check. You're probably wondering, how do I know? I'll tell you just now, right? Um, no, they didn't plot that one. They plot this one. Uh, so how do I know? Sorry about that. Well, based on reading of the coordinates, right? Remember on a graph, as I said just now, I'll say it again, and you all hear me say it anytime I'm teaching graphs. Every point on a graph has two coordinates. Um, this is a point here, right? They put an X to represent it, but the point is really in the middle, right? The coordinates of this point will be, remember the X is always written first, followed by the Y. Um, the X, in order to know what the X coordinate is, trace from the point till you reach the X axis, and you have whatever number it meets with, that's the X value. Let me change the color this because that color looking too light. So the X value is going to be 5, right? And the Y value, the Y coordinate, you trace from the point to the Y axis, you get 20. So that's this point here, where X is 5 and Y is 20. Okay, so that's how I knew, and as you also I circled above, this point was plotted. The other point that was plotted is this one. That's this one here where the point is in the middle, right here. To figure out the x value, trace down to the x-axis, like going kind of bend. But when you all have the paper in your hand, use a ruler or something, so you don't go too off. So if here's 15 and here's 20, halfway through 15 and 20 is going to be like 17, right? Let me see. No. Halfway. Okay, we can't check it like that. Check how much small boxes between them. It have one, one, two. Oh gosh, you think know what to write, boy? These small boxes are looking real like 2, 3. You have like 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that means every 2 box is a number. So here is 16. The next 2 box will be 17. The next 2 box which coming down here be 18. So that line coming down by where x is 18. I know the numbers writing big. But you have to know how to, let me probably do it again. I would open up the screen a little bit bigger. Well, zoom it, should I say that's the right word? I'll zoom the screen. I'll do it again, right? And you'll probably see these small lines, which represent small boxes. So every two boxes, in this case, here will be 16. Our next two box will be 17. Our next two box here will be 18. So that line is coming down where um the 18 is. And then the next two boxes 19. And then the next two boxes will land exactly on 20. So the numbers are usually like an equal amount of spaces away from each other. You just have to get accustomed figuring out what going on, what's going on, what is the missing numbers, right? So it's a lot of logic and thinking and examining. So yeah, that would have came down around where x is 18 when you trace down from the point, and then to trace across the y-axis, it should be around here. It's not exactly on the dark line, so it's gonna be alright. So if 40 is here and 50 is here, 45 will that be 45? Let me see. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. Yeah. So this will be 46. So this one is scale different. Every one small box always an next number. So here's 41, here's 42, here's 43, here's 44, here's 45, then this line here's 46, 47, 48, 49, then you line 50. So you see in the previous one, every two small box was a number, another number, whole number. This one, every one small box is a number. So you have to try to figure out these scales and what we do. So that's how I know, okay, that is that. All right. So the other 2 points we have to plot would be when x is 12, and y is 34. The way they wrote it is best to write it like they say, right? The x first followed by the y. And then the other one I have to plot is where x is 25. Now I know some of you would not have been able to figure out that time is on the x-axis. Unless you revise velocity, that's for those who did it. And those who didn't do it probably would have been lost. So, going back up here, 12 on the x-axis. Remember, every two boxes. So here be 11. Here should be 12. Let me just double check. Here should be 13. Here should be 14 on the next two box 15. So 12 is here. Um, so I know what 12 is. It's now to find 34 and then we connect them. 34, I know every one box on the X is a number. So if here's 30, here's 31, 32, 33, 34 be here. So I will trace where 34 is on that same line, close around where X is 12, around here, right? Then from where X is 12, I trace up until I meet with the broken lines, meet up with the broken lines where y is 34. And I will meet right there, which means one of the points is right here. And since they're using x's, I'll put an x here too. For a little x, you understand? Follow the pattern a little bit. Alright, the next one is when x is 25. Well, this one is good. It's exactly on the dark line. I have to meet up with an X, Y, 60. This one, these two really good. So I could just go from where X is 25, trace way up to around where Y is 60. I know they'll meet here, but for those not sure, trace from where Y is 60 until he meets up with the broken line where X is 25. And yes, as I said, that point will be right there. So now that we have all 4 points plotted, and as you all can see, every point has two coordinates, an x coordinate and a y coordinate, and those coordinates are based on the axis, right? Let me go back up. What did they say to draw? Did they say to draw this stuff? They said use a graph to determine the path. Wait, hold on. That's the next part of the question. Let me go back up. The center plot the remaining point and draw a line of best fit through, meaning draw a line that will fit across these fit well, pass through all these points and the best fit. So do it to the best of your ability. Now I am going to do this freehand, but if you have the paper, make sure I'm using a ruler so the line, the straight line will pass through the center of all the points. Right? No, mine's a little bit shaky, but woohoo, I got a little off there. But again, you please make sure you use like a pencil, ruler or something, so your line is as straight as possible, like going straight through all the points. So it will look something like this. And you should get how much marks it is, like about 2 marks. Okay, so the last part, I think I can open this out. Says given the linear motion, linear means a straight line motion or movement or a straight line graph of the object can be expressed in the form V is equal to AT, or some will say R plus U. Please know that uh this is written in the form Y equals to MX plus C. That's why C sectors bring things all kind of different. How right? It is written in the form Y equals to MX plus C. That's one thing that you'll need to pay attention to. Next thing is that when they use these letters, the V represents final velocity. Again, if you did speed time graph and distance time graph, but especially speed time, you know velocity means the speed, right? Um, so the final velocity, the A is for acceleration, like how fast a vehicle or a person is running, walking, how fast it keeps speeding up. So the acceleration. The T is for time, as you know, time is on the x-axis, and then the U is, let's say, initial or current velocity, the current speed, right? Current speed or current velocity. Do I have a lot of space there? Let me just increase that a little bit. So if you listen to what I just said, the V represents final velocity, and velocity is always on the y-axis, as I said earlier on. So that's y. The A is the acceleration or the gradient, because M represents gradient. It tells you how fast something is going to how slow, depending on the gradient you get. The T represents time, which is on the x-axis right there. And then the U, the current speed, which is based on the y-intercept and stuff. No, it's not always done as the y-intercept, but there are different ways that you can be found. Okay, so based on this, they're saying where A and U are constants, meaning A and U could be any value. Use your graph to determine the values of A and U. Okay, A and U. So for those of you all who have been doing graphing with me last week, and possibly those who probably pay attention to the graph questions, I always say when they try to find the equation of the line, you need to find M and C. What are they asking us to find? A and U. A and U is finding M and C. So that's what they want you to do. Find M and C and then um write the values. So M is the gradient. So that means when you're finding A, you are finding the gradients, right? So since they tell you to find A, put it as A is equal to, but it's really the gradient they're finding. So you want to write that's M is equal to as well as up to, but it's good to kind of follow through what is asked. X2 minus x1. Um, u, well, we'll be able to find u in a while. So, using any 2 points on the graph, the smaller numbers you use, it might be easier. For you, so it's up to you. I think I'll use the first two, which has the smaller digits. Or I can use the tuner right here so I don't have to write over whole that stuff. So you need 2 points. This is a point. This is a point. Each point has an x and y coordinate. So you have 2 coordinates. You have to label. If I say here's x1, here has to be y1. If I say here's x2, this has to be y2. So if since y2 is going to be 60, I'll put the 60 and then I'll take away 34 over x2 is 25 and then I'll take away 12. Just double check. So x2, sorry, y2 has been labeled as 60, y1 labeled as 34, x2 labeled as 25, x1 labeled as 12. All right, then we take away 60 take away 34 should be 26 over, well, this is a paper too, you can always put in calculator as well, right? Well, 26 divided by 13 is 2. Because 13 multiplied by 2 gives you 26. So 13 is half of 26. So you get, when you divide 26 by 2 by 13, sorry, you get 2. So the gradient is 2, or we just form A to be 2. They want us to also find value of U. Of course, U is the y-intercept. Let's see what this graph has here, so it will be easy. Since U, which is in position of C in this formula, is the y-intercept, it's that easy to find. You don't even have to work on nothing. I believe this is to pass through by 10 if I drew this perfectly. So the coordinates of the y-intercept will be, if you're not sure, let me just erase this here, this piece here alone. The coordinates of the y-intercept, or the point where the graph passes through or connects or meets with the y-axis, remember again, it's always in the format of x followed by y, so it's good to always find the x first. It's going to be 0 for the x, but if you're not sure, trace from the point to the x-axis, you meet where x is 0. So the x value is 0, and the y value, or coordinate, it's exactly where y is 10. So C is always the y coordinate of the point where the graph passes through the y-axis. So the value of U is going to be 10. Sorry, I read the wrong thing here. Wait, Y. U is, oh gosh, what going on in me, Y? U is equal to 10. All right. Use your graph to determine the values of this. And since 10 is on the y-axis, it represents speed. So I have to put that with meters per second. Because we deal with velocity, right? 10 meters per second. So this vehicle object is moving 10 meters every second. All right? And it has a gradient of 2. So if you have any questions, you can always ask the questions. I hope that this was helpful to you all. I would work and see if I can get another recording in before exam. That might be tomorrow, or if it don't work out tomorrow, then it might end up being Wednesday. So we'll keep